Hey everyone, Shaun Stevenson here, author of the Throne series, and today I am bringing to you my review of Janitors Book 3, Curse of the Broomstaff by Tyler Whitesides. Now, my wife recently picked up book number 1 in the sequel series to the Janitors series, Janitor School of Garbage, and the second book in that series that hasn't released yet, which is called Trials of the Trash, I believe. And so I thought, I need to catch up on Janitors because I read books 1 and 2 last year, and book 1 was actually on my list of top 10 favorites from last year. I really liked the Janitors series. So I thought, okay, I gotta read book 3, I gotta get caught up here. So let's dive into book 3. Now, I will tell you, there are going to be some spoilers for things that happen in books 1 and 2, but no spoilers from book 3 in this video. So if you haven't read books 1 and 2 and you don't want them spoiled, go read those first and then come back for this review. So Tyler Whitesides wrote this series, Janitors, and Janitors is literally all about these janitors that are trying to save the education system from these evil creatures called toxites. Toxites live in schools and they kind of like suck on the brain waves of kids, especially in elementary and middle school. Once kids get to high school, it doesn't really affect them as much, so they really go after kids and like middle school age kids. So these janitors are trying to defeat these evil creatures, these toxites, using what's called glopified janitorial equipment. There is this thing called glop, which is a magical substance that when applied to different janitorial items like a mop, it will turn the mop into like a magical mop. So like with the mops, what will happen is like the mop strings will extend and they can like wrap around stuff and pull things or tangle things up. There's a lot of different uses. There's also brooms, which can be used to fly or jump a little bit. There's things like you can take a latex glove and that you put on and you can't be caught, like you can slip out of the way of anybody who's trying to catch you. So there's so many fun things. I've really loved books 1 and 2 in this series quite a bit. I feel like this is a really interesting world that is super unique. It's kind of one of those fantasy stories where it's set in modern day, but there's like this whole magical world happening right outside like our peripheral vision of all these things that are going on. So it's sort of like Percy Jackson in that kind of a sense. This is a series put out by my favorite publisher, Shadow Mountain, which I love Shadow Mountain books. Their middle grade fantasy books always are the best in my opinion. I love almost every middle grade fantasy series they've put out. They put out books like Fablehaven series by Brandon Mull, The Adventures Wanted by M.L. Foreman, Potion Masters by Frank L. Cole. Just so many good series that I have loved. And Janitors is no exception. So, in this series, there's a boy named Spencer Zumbro who finds out that his dad, who is missing, is part of this secret janitorial world because there's an evil organization called the BEM who they are trying to get these toxites to go into schools because they're trying to take over the world by using these creatures to dumb down all of education and make sure that no one learns anything except for the kids in their schools that they have that are toxite free. So these different toxite creatures, there are like basically 3 of them, and they kind of affect kids in different ways, and each kid is affected by a different kind of toxite. So you have a rubbish, a filth, and a grime, which one of them's like a salamander, one's kind of like a porcupine-ish thing, and one is like a vulture-y thing. And so they all can do different things, like distract kids or make them feel sleepy or make them confused. So these different ones affect the different kids. And Spencer, he has found out about this secret world of the janitors because he got detention and had to help out the janitors at his original school in book 1 to fight these toxite creatures. Now in book 3, we're at the point where Spencer and his friend Daisy, who is also one of the people that helps him, they are on the quest to find the source of the glop. Because glop is what creates these creatures that are affecting everybody. So they're trying to find the source of the glop and following these clues that are leading them from place to place. And it is a whole adventure. I really loved it. You go from like different schools to like magical bathrooms to landfills and like under landfills. And it is a whole journey that is so much fun. I felt like this book was just action packed. It was like one action scene after another, but not sacrificing character development, setting, all those other great pieces that make a book a great book. So Tyler Whitesides, in my opinion, has really mastered this idea of having this action scene that also has poignant moments in the middle of them that don't slow down everything. You might think that a character development moment in the middle of an action scene would like slow the pace of everything to a standstill, but this really doesn't. Tyler Whitesides has, like I said, really mastered this, where he's able to communicate so much through just like a look from one character to another, or a single phrase from one character to another, and really helps us to dive into who these characters are, what is happening in their worlds in the midst of all this fantasy action. There's a lot of lore that gets built upon in this book especially that I won't go into because it would all be spoilers, and the lore was so much fun. I kept thinking, oh, that's an interesting new thing, and that's an interesting new thing. It just was one thing after the next. So many great moments. You have some really epic finale scenes as well, where it is just chapter after chapter of a giant finale that is so fun, so action-packed, so much happens, and there are stakes. There are stakes here. There is not a moment where you're thinking, oh, they're going to be fine, they're going to get out of this. It is really down to the wire in so many pieces of this story, and so many moments where you're wondering, will that character actually make it? Because this series has not been afraid to take characters out of the picture. And that's all I'll say about that, because again, I don't want to give any spoilers. This is just such a well done book that is so much fun. It just builds on everything from books 1 and 2 so well, and continues the storyline in brand new ways that really have set up books 4 and 5 now. I can't wait to see where this goes. Especially the very end of this book sets them up on a new quest that sounds so interesting. And I kept thinking, well, I want to start that book right now because I want to know more about this quest. And I'm super curious what the sequel series is going to be about, because I keep thinking, wow, this is already so epic. There's already so much going on. What more could there be? But I'm just going to say, I trust Tyler Whitesides because he has not let me down yet in these first 3 books that he's put out in the Janitors series. They all 3 have been really great reads that I've just highly enjoyed. This is one of those kind of longer middle grade books. This one is about 400, almost 400 pages. So it's definitely a hefty book, but it reads pretty quick. Like, you have not a ton of text on a page, so it goes pretty fast and moves along. The other cool thing about this particular edition of the book, I got this used, but inside the book here, it was signed by Tyler Whitesides, and he drew toilet paper. I don't know who Ben is, but thanks, Ben. I really am glad that you got this book signed, because I just was laughing over this. I think that's hilarious that he drew toilet paper onto the inside of this book when he signed it. So, Janitors, it's a lot of fun. At the end of the day, I would definitely give Janitors Book 3, Curse of the Broomstaff, 5 out of 5 stars. It was so much fun. It's the kind of book I love. There's action, there's adventure, there's fantasy, there's mystery, there's lore that is deep and just keeps building upon itself and adding to it and opening up new like layers that you're thinking, oh, I didn't think this could go anywhere else, but here we go. I want to know more about that. So definitely check out this Janitor series. If you are into Fablehaven, Percy Jackson kind of books, these are just right up your alley. Especially the humor with the janitorial equipment and just what will happen next with the next item that they come up with is so much fun. I feel like it's almost a little bit like in James Bond or Alex Rider, where you have the gadgets that Q or that Smithers gives to Alex Rider, where you're wondering, what's that gadget going to do and how is it going to come into play? You have kind of things like that, where there's like these fun, different glopified janitorial things that you're wondering, what will a spray bottle do? What will, the janitorial cart do? What will a trash can do? It's just a lot of fun. So definitely check out the Janitor series if you haven't. If you love those kind of middle grade fantasy books, definitely check these out. And until next time, everybody, keep reading. Bye.